In medieval India, there was this one ruler whose ambition was just massive. I mean, he didn't just write history, he literally carved it into stone. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the story of Emperor Anantavarman Chodaganga.
Okay, take a look at this. This is the magnificent Jagannath Temple in Puri. It's basically the spiritual heart for millions of people. For centuries, those incredible spires have watched over the city. But have you ever wondered, who was the visionary behind it all? Who had the power, the vision, the sheer will to make something like this happen? Well, the answer? It's a whole saga of conquest, faith, and building an empire from the ground up.
All right, so let's get right into it. Who was the man behind this masterpiece?
The man's name? Emperor Anantavarman Chodaganga. He was the ruler of the Eastern Ganga dynasty. And listen, this guy was way more than just a builder. We're talking about a brilliant military strategist, a masterful administrator, someone who literally redrew the map of Eastern India. But to really get a handle on just how huge his achievements were, we've got to go back to the beginning, to his incredible origins. You see, Chodaganga's story really kicks off with his family tree. And it wasn't just any family tree, it was like a political masterstroke, bringing together two of the most powerful dynasties of that entire era. I mean, talk about a fusion of power. On his dad's side, he was the heir to the Eastern Gangas, who ruled the Kalinga region. But on his mom's side, he was descended from the mighty Chola Empire in the south. His mother was Princess Rajasundari. So this dual heritage, it gave him more than just a right to the throne. It gave him this incredible network of alliances that would basically fuel everything he wanted to do.
And of course, like any great historical figure, there's a little bit of mystery here. A puzzle, really. Most of the records we have say his maternal grandfather was the Chola Emperor Virajendra, but some really smart historians think it was actually Kulothunga Chola I. Now, you might think, who cares? But it's not just a minor detail. It actually changes the whole political game of his early life. It's just a great reminder that history is basically detective work, You're piecing together clues from centuries ago.
So, armed with this seriously powerful lineage, Chodaganga wasn't content to just inherit a kingdom. No way. He was going to forge an empire, and he did it through one relentless military campaign after another.
Okay, so his first big move, he went after the Somavamshi dynasty over in Utkala, which was starting to weaken. He defeated their last king, a guy named Deva, and in doing so, he unified the heartland of what we now call Odisha. This was absolutely critical. It was his first major win, and it gave him a secure home base for all the epic stuff that was going to come next.
But just because he had Chola blood didn't mean he was friends with his relatives down south. Nope, he ended up clashing with them over this really fertile and strategic area called Vengi. And get this, at first, he was losing. The records say he even lost territory. But if Chodaganga was anything, he was resilient. The guy regrouped, he pushed back, and in the end, he kicked the Chola forces out completely and secured Vengi for his empire. It's just an amazing display of how tenacious he was as a leader.
All right, so with the south and the central areas locked down, where do you think he looked next? North, up towards Bengal. The Pala kingdom up there was on the decline, and Chodaganga saw his chance. He seized the opportunity, launched an attack, and even managed to capture their capital. Just like that, he'd pushed his influence right up to the edge of what we know as Bengal today.
So when people said his empire stretched from the Ganga to the Godavari, that wasn't just some fancy phrase. It was the truth. Anantavarman Chodaganga had actually done it. He'd carved out this huge, unified empire that stretched all the way from the Ganga River in the north down to the Godavari in the south. I mean, that's a remarkable achievement. Nobody had seen anything like it in that region for centuries.
But, conquering territory is one thing. Actually ruling it, that's a whole different ballgame. And Chodaganga was just as skilled at running an empire as he was at winning battles. He knew how to build something that would actually last.
The inscriptions he left behind are amazing. They give us this fascinating peek into how his government actually worked. You can see it was a super well-organized state with really clear roles. You had military commanders, religious advisors, and even civil administrators like accountants. This whole structure, this was the backbone of his empire. It's what made it so stable and prosperous.
At the same time, Chodaganga was going through this pretty profound personal change. He started out his reign as a devout Shaivite, a follower of Shiva, but later on, apparently influenced by the famous philosopher Ramanuja, he converted to Vaishnavism, the worship of Vishnu. He even took on the title Parama Vaishnava, which means great devotee of Vishnu. And this personal shift in his faith, it had monumental consequences. It's what led directly to him building that incredible Jagannath temple we saw earlier.
He had a lot of titles, but there's one that really stands out. Trikalinga Dipati. It means Lord of the Three Kalingas. And this wasn't just some fancy, grand name he gave himself. It was a major political statement. It was him telling the entire world that he had taken the three separate, fragmented regions of Kalinga and forged them into one single, powerful kingdom, with him in charge.
So when you think about his legacy, it's all about the sheer scale and how long it lasted. I mean, his reign wasn't just a blip in history. It completely shaped the destiny of that entire region for hundreds of years.
Just think about this number for a second. 72. Anantavarman Chodaganga ruled for 72 years. That is incredible. In an age of constant war and betrayal, to have that kind of stability, it's just astonishing. And that's what gave his reforms time to really sink in, and gave his massive building projects time to actually get finished.
So if you wanted to boil down his incredible reign, you could look at it as 5 main pillars of his legacy. First, he unified Odisha. Second, he gave the world that architectural marvel, the Jagannath Temple. Third, he built a military powerhouse. Fourth, he created a stable government that lasted for generations. And finally, he supported this unique culture that actually brought different faiths together under the whole Jagannath idea.
So that brings us to the big question, right? When we look back at Anantavarman Chodaganga, what do we see? Is he the conqueror who took what he wanted by force? Is he the builder whose work still leaves us speechless today? Or is he the unifier who created a lasting identity for his people? You know, maybe the real answer is he was all three. A ruler whose legacy is so huge, it's still with us today, literally carved in stone.